Hello and welcome to the big milestone, tutorial number 17 on the feeling, and that is on this riser sound. And in the track it sounds like this. Now the astute amongst you might not recognise this song. Now that could be because you listened to the feeling years ago and can't remember how it goes, or it could be because this is a different song. This song's called Secret Sauce. It's on my SoundCloud, links in the description, including to the project if you want. The reason why I'm playing this song is because this riser came from this old project. So when I put it in the feeling, it's an extremely old preset I made, goodness knows how long ago, and just copied it across because I quite like it. It's probably my favourite riser. You cannot hear it. Never mind. Let's just go to the right project now. Alright, so in the feeling, it's a bit more like this.
No. Can you guess what? Can you guess what?
Alright, so let's actually make it now. So, new pattern, riser. Alright, what is this doing here? Riser 2. Alright. Hammer. Default. Let's do this. So basically the gist of this sound is it's just a saw wave given really horrible, horrendous, ugly unison, as much stereo separation as possible, and then just sort of slowly fade the volume in, and that's about it. So this won't take very long. So, saw wave. Pitch max. Unison. The most disgusting, bad-sounding unison preset you can possibly imagine, which is two voices, no pan, no phase, maximum pitch. Ow, my ears. I'm not saying it sounds terrible in the riser, it's just the most discordant sort of horrible settings you can imagine, which I chose, presumably because I was just messing around and accidentally came up with a nice-sounding riser. Alright, so next is a little bit of a vibrato, something a little bit like this. Alright, we're getting somewhere. A bit of soft sat distortion, because it seems like soft sat is the only distortion in this list which doesn't totally your sound, like all the others are kind of a bit... Okay, that wasn't so bad actually. Anyway, whatever, so soft sat, duration, turn the amount up a bit, and a little bit of mono asymmetry. So that's about it. Then, I'm sure it'll come as a surprise to no one, burning compression, maximum amount, and sort of, again, lazy EQ. Turn down the low a bit, and then mid and high up a bit. So it's kind of starting to sound a bit like a cooker lead, really. You could just use this as a kind of like dubstep lead, I guess. But next, to widen the hell out of everything, is chorus with the widest settings I could manage. Maximum order, maximum depth, maximum speed. And already that's made a massive difference. A little bit of delay. Buttload of stereo spread, but for some reason not the max. And turn up the mix. Then turn up the cross filter cutoff. So if you're not sure what this does, basically, it just... So you can set it to either process only the high frequencies or only the low frequencies. So turning it up is processing only the low frequencies, turning it down is processing only the high. And how the value of the knob is the cutoff frequency of where it considers low and high. And in the middle is just process everything. So for some bizarre reason I turned it this way to process only the low, which doesn't really make much sense considering it's a riser rather than a bass. And seeing as like stereo bass always sounds horrible, it would have made more sense to do this, but at the time I didn't know what this slider did, so... So that's everything in Hammer. Now, the effects. First effect is a flanges, which is very similar to a chorus, I suppose. Turn up the order a bit. Maximum depth and speed. Again, this is just for more like sort of lush stereo wideness to smooth the sound out and make it a bit less harsh and grating your ears. Bit more delay. Leave spread where it is. Cross up a bit, and this is the same cross filter cutoff as you saw here. And then dry and wet up to 100, just because if you're not redlining, you're not headlining. Wonderful. Speaking of redlining though, I should probably turn this down. Okay. So the next plugin is a free reverb VST called Ambience. Now this is what I used in the original because I was using Ambience all the time back then. I don't use it very often now. I guess at the time I just preferred the way it sounded to fruity reverb. But now I try to keep things vanilla as much as possible. So what I'm saying is you don't really need to use Ambience. You could just use good old classic free reverb. Not a lot of difference, but just to keep it consistent with the original, I'll use Ambience and just turn the time down a bit. Now a bit of an interesting note here about this plugin. I was looking at the manual before this tutorial, I was on the page for Fruity Flanger. Now, in this sound we used Flanger, not Flanger, which is a different plugin. But at the bottom of the page, plugin credits, Smart Electronics. Hello, hello, that sounds like a familiar name. Go to their web page. This is the, so one of the dudes on this team, so Smart Electronics is a team that makes plugins, right? One of the blokes on it was the one who made Ambience. Huh, what a weird link. I never knew that, so I suppose the same team that makes one reverb plugin I like just happens to have involved in one of the Fruity plugins, which is weird. And they also have some like official branded merchandise, like clothing you can buy. One item of which is an official like Smart Electronics branded thong, which is pretty cool, I guess. It's like, you just know you want it. I'll think about it, Smart Electronics. I mean, do I want a thong branded with the people who made my reverb plugin? I'll think about it. But yeah, so that's the story behind the reverb on this. And that is basically everything for this sound. The one and only thing left is a bit of volume automation. Now, if you're ever going to automate something, the volume of something, don't automate it here, because this is before all the effects, which may or may not be what you want. Don't automate it here, because then if you want to change the volume of it later, you've then got to pick through every single automation clip, which is a colossal pain in the ass. Automate it with Fruity Balance, which is just the simplest effect plugin you can imagine, just a volume knob. At the time, for some reason, I didn't know about Fruity Balance. I used the dry knob on Fruity Send. Still don't really know what this is for. Sending to another mixer insert, I would assume. But it's just for automating the volume, basically. So that then if you want to change the overall volume of it later, you can just do it here and it doesn't mess with all your automation clips. So yeah, so if you're going to use Fruity Balance, here's what you do. Select the thing you want to automate. So select the bit of the track you want to automate so that when you right click and go to create automation clip, it creates an automation clip of the length of the selection. So you don't have a massive automation clip, you now have to resize, which is a pain. Then copy the value at 0 dB, because this is 80% of the knob's value. You can turn it above 100, but you don't want to do that because you want to avoid clipping. And to avoid always messing with this to get it to exactly 0.8, you can just paste that value in the max. So now the maximum value of this automation clip is, rather conveniently, unaltered 0 dB, 100% volume, which is nice. And then you can just, fade it in like that. So that's all I did. So I may as well, just for the sake of completeness, actually use this Riser 2 pattern. And where's that automation clip I just made? Oh, this is such a mess. Alright. So all I really did was just... Oh, whoops. Big slide note. I think it was a lot longer than this actually, but... And then, volume automation. Whoops. Riser. Nice one. So, that's all there is for this tutorial. That is one riser, hot and fresh from my brain. Enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.